everybody, Gina DeLuca here. Okay, as you can see, I am prepped for a straight pour. This is a 20 by 20 deep edged gallery wrapped canvas. And the colors that I'm working with today are the Arteza Bordeaux Red. Love this color. It is one of my favorite reds. So beautiful and works great in straight pours. I have the Decoart Americana Decor Metallics in 24 karat gold, in soft gold, and in bronze. So these are very much in the same color family, but what happens is they kind of blend together and make a very cool 3D effect. So I'm going to do something a little different today in that I'm going to pour out of a regular cup, kind of like the last painting I did, the Sarah Mac straight pour. She kind of wiggles it back and forth and it creates a cool pattern. But these are all my cell makers, and normally I would just pour it and let the cells do what they do. I want to see, I like manipulating the patterns of cells. I prefer straight pours because you get patterns of cells as opposed to in a flip cup, it's all very random how it comes out. And in a straight pour, you can kind of create a place for the eye to rest. You can control your composition a little more. So we're just going to see if this creates a pattern, if it just winds up making a boatload of cells. I mean, let's find out, because I've only done one straight pour out of a regular cup. I think I've always used a measuring cup with a spout. So this is an experiment on a very expensive canvas. Let's see what happens. These paints are mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol, and that did not really require any additional thinning, but if it needed to be thinned, I have a mixture of 10% Floetrol, 90% water. So this is mostly water with a little bit of Floetrol added, 10%. And if I needed to thin my paints, that's what I would use. Somebody had commented that I've been using the same bottle for the past 3 years. And indeed I have. I don't like to waste anything. I just thought it was funny that somebody noticed that. It's like, it must be like a paint smudge that's been on there for the past 3 years. Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube. This is the picture from that particular video. This box here has a tip for that particular technique, and then down here at the bottom is the color palette used in that particular painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those 2 colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. Use some of the colors, use all of the colors, mix and match the color palettes with the techniques, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. And the palettes can be used for any art form, beadwork, crochet, what have you. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also now available at Amazon. Okay, I'm going to lay down a base coat so that my composition has something to slide around on, and I just realized that I forgot to show you the consistency of these paints. I will do that in a moment. The consistency that we're working with is about a 3 on the consistency scale. It's pretty thick compared to what I usually do for my straight pours. We'll see what happens, but that's what we're working with. So the reason that I lay down a base coat is so that the paints slide around more evenly on the canvas. Something has to stick to the canvas, and if the first thing that sticks to it is your poured paint, you might be losing some really cool stuff that is just going to get rolled over by the other paints. And I paint my edges first because straight pours typically are pretty thin. This is a relatively thick one, but what happens is quite often the sides don't get as much coverage as you would like, and the canvas can show through, and then you have to go back and touch it up later, and that can be a real pain in the booty, especially if you had a custom blended color in there. So if I paint the edges first, I never have to think about what happens on the edges later. It's a done deal. The paint will stick, it won't stick, it doesn't matter. My edges are covered. All right, my base coat is down, and now I'm going to pour some paint in a cup. I do still have a bit on reserve there from my base coat, but I'm starting with this. Need a little extra, just in case. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna add just a bit, just a tiny bit to that, tiny bit. I'm pouring from up high, but I'm not pouring so that I get a ton of blending. I do want there to be some lines in there. If I get cells, I'm fine with that. But I do want to see if I can get a pattern going out of these colors. Normally, I would be pouring from very up high because I would want those paints to fully sink and blend. And now I'm going to cover the top with the rest of the red paint. I'm going to pop bubbles here in my base coat, get them out now. Okay, let's see what happens. Slower and closer as you get toward the end of the cup will give you more control. Okie dokie. These colors against that red is just so, so beautiful. Just love gold and red together. Love it. Popping the bubbles. So I'm gonna let this sit and develop a bit. These cells, the ones that pop up before you tilt, those are the ones that you can turn into the Boulder cells, and they have a very cool 3D effect. As you stretch it out, they get bigger, and those colors blending together make some really cool things happen. We'll see what happens in these areas. If I could keep those lines, I wouldn't be mad at that. Again, you know, the patterns create interest to the eye. Our brains want to see patterns. It is just a function of the human mind, and we find patterns pleasing, even if we don't realize it or know why. So these will stretch out and become big boulder cells, and the more I stretch it, the more cells will pop up. This thing could just be filled with cells completely and these lines can disappear. That is very possible once I start stretching this. And as it sits, you'll see more bubbles popping up. Just pop them as you see them. I don't like to torch these paints after I tilt so much, like in the actual metallic part. If there's bubbles in the base coat background color, like in the red on this one, I would pop those. But once I stretch this, I won't torch the metallics. I feel like once they thin out, it's very easy to scorch them. And also, I don't want red. If there's bubbles in the red, I don't want that popping through my cells. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this party started, I guess. So I'm gonna go this way first because it just looks like it wants to go that way first. Very slowly. This paint is thick. I don't want these lines rolling over top of each other. So I'm going to be very patient. I want to keep some of those lines if I possibly can. I'm bringing the paint back to center before I change direction. The weight of the paint is going to be where your paint is moving the fastest. And by using the weight of the paint, you can really push the paints around kind of how you want. You can make corners, almost 90-degree lines, but not 90-degree angles, if you know what I'm saying. And again, back to the center. Okay, I think I'm gonna hit that opposing corner. I'm just gonna freshen this up a little bit because I feel like it's fighting. Sometimes on these bigger canvases, it just seems to soak up so much paint that it starts to dry out on you pretty quickly. See if that helps. As you can see where it kind of wiggles in like that, it is, the base coat is fighting your board paint. Okay. Again, trying to come back to center. And this action of bringing the paint back to center is what helps to keep the composition of your cells. It keeps them in a more cell shape instead of just disappearing and becoming squiggly lines. Okay, now I'm covered, and now I'm going to adjust the composition. Again, bringing the paint back to center. I think I want to tilt some of this off. I know it sounds crazy, but I kind of like what's going on the other side better. And I'd like to have a bit more of the red in there. I know, I'm tilting off all these cells. I'm insane. Okay. Am I done? Am I good? Am I still going? A little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna leave it be. I'm actually hoping that no more cells pop up. They're going to. I can see them trying to. I was hoping to keep some of this red here, but yep, I'm just gonna get a bunch of cells. Okay, well, we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna let it do what it do, and I will bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. I got to keep some of that red. If I had torched that red, I would have had more cells pop up there, which is why I did not torch that red. But got some great Boulder cell action. Looking very 3D. This is why I love these metallics, these Decoart Metallics. You will find more options for these colors on the Decoart website than you generally will in a store. And there is an affiliate link in the description box for Decoart. Also for Arteza, where you would find that Bordeaux Red. And there's also one for Acrylic Art and Amazon as well. So anything that you purchase off of those websites, I receive a small commission of at no additional cost to you. So this area here, there's not much red showing up in between the gold, which is why I tilted a lot of that off. But I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Please do like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Help me stay alive in these evil algorithms. And do check out the description box below for those affiliate links I told you about, and also for the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and the fluid art inspiration cards for sale. Also, you will find in that description box, it's changing color on me, back out again. In the description box, you will also find the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art, join us there, post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration, all that good stuff. I'll let y'all know that I have been varnishing this week. I am preparing for another auction. Don't know when that's going to happen exactly, but it's going to happen. So, yeah. All right. That is it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.